You might know my work in Twilight Zone movie, Back to the Future 2 and 3, Pale Rider, Johnny Dangerously. Oh boy, Max Headroom, Dallas. I was Screech's guru on Saved by the Bell, The High Geek. I don't know. Lots of stuff. I've been working for almost 50 years. And I'm appearing on the Anthony Rogers Show.
You are now listening to the best show in the universe, The Anthony Rogers Show. You probably wish that this was your show, but it's not. It's The Anthony Rogers Show. Tell all of your friends to listen to this show.
Hey, this episode is brought to you by the Selfie Room, downtown St. Louis, Wash Ave. The Selfie Room is a photo studio specifically designed for the public to get fun photos. They're located, again, in downtown St. Louis, 19 exhibits. Basically, really good photos. If you're out for a fun afternoon, I don't know, a date or something like that. Like I took my girlfriend there. It was really cool. But photo shoots, video shoots, bloggers, influencers, or if you're looking for something to do while you're downtown or you're traveling to St. Louis and you want to check it out, bring your friends, bring your family, bring whatever. Bring your own camera, though, for sure. But they have tripods and Bluetooth remotes you can rent if you need to. You don't have someone to take your photo there. Reservations are required, so check out the selfieroom.com, Instagram Selfie Room St. Louis. Mention this podcast and get $5 off. Do it. Oh, yeah. Before I forget, go to glitchenergy.com. Use promo code BESTSHOW. Get 25% off Glitch Energy and stay in the zone when you're playing video games. Bye. Welcome back to the greatest show in the entire universe. Today we have a huge, star and legend from an iconic movie, an American movie. Jeffrey Weissman, how you doing, man?
My big entrance. Here I come. Wait, hold on.
Okay.
I'm getting ready. I'm just here. Hi. It's good to be here. Do I call you Tony or Anthony?
I'll just go by Anthony. I've never done that. But no, dude. So I think it was a cheap intro. But you've been in a lot of movies. Like I want to start with like the Twilight Zone movie. Like first off, like what character? I just looked that up and found out that you were in that. Who'd you play in that movie? It says young husband. Which character was that though?
I was the young newlywed on the plane. My position on the plane was pretty much across the aisle from John Lithgow. So
you were in that. Oh, that's a crazy scene. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. That's crazy.
Yeah. And my so a lot of the time Alan Davio wanted to put the camera where I was sitting, so I'd go hang out in the back of the plane with the extras. There were some really fantastic extras on that scene, on that shot, on that shoot. A guy with it, you'll see a guy with a giant mohawk, and so this was 1982, so it was pretty cutting edge for Hollywood to put a punk in a major motion picture. And his name was Spaz Attack. You should look him up. He was like Tony Basil's companion for choreographing a lot of famous people. And he was, I remember he told me he was in a scene with, a fight scene with Harrison Ford in Blade Runner that apparently got cut. And then Jack Burrell, Milton Berle's brother, he was in the back of the plane as one of the extras. And he told me about his brother getting kidnapped at gunpoint by Al Capone. To play his club in Chicago. And, Uncle Milty, he said, "No, I've got this other gig. Thank you very much, Mr. Capone. Please leave me alone." Sure enough, as soon as he landed, his thugs kidnapped him at the airport at gunpoint, took him to Capone's club. So it was a really lovely, I've been in a lot of mixed bag productions. That one in particular, because of the accident, 3 months earlier on John Landis's episode where Vic Morrow and the two children literally had their heads chopped off.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was like dead in the water. But then when my agent called me up for the audition, I was like, what? She says, well, Spielberg, that accident happened on the last day of shooting, and Spielberg said there's enough footage to finish it. And he already had Joe Dante and his episode and George Miller's, who I was in, whose episode I was in, lined up to do their shoot. So I said, okay. I went in, and I was already a huge Mad Max Road Warrior fan. And here's this little guy with a big bushy mustache like I've got right now. I'm playing Mark Twain in a show right now. So a little unassuming guy who just loved being in Hollywood at a big studio, which I was the same at the time. I was, just loving getting my foot in the door. And we hit it off right away. And I told him a couple jokes, which he liked, and he cast me. And it was, it's just a little bit more than an extra role being a passenger, because Lithgow and the other principals, like the little girl and Abby Lane and Donna Dixon, the stewardesses, they were the more major roles. But George would say, if you come up with an idea, a bit of business or a line or something, let's try it in rehearsal. And, so I came up with 6 lines, and fighting with my newlywed wife over the pillow when we think we're going to crash. All these little bits and stuff. I think, most of it was cut, but you still see me once in a while. I've got my big hair back. I had big hair back then.
That's crazy, and that's such a huge part of American cinema to be a part of in any way. That's interesting. Like I like the movie a lot. I like the TV show and the movie a lot. But that's crazy.
It was a gas to be on that set. I had a very strange thing happen while I was shooting. My girlfriend at the time, her cat had kittens, and in the middle of the night, I felt something kind of hurt my arm, and I was like, "What the heck?" And I woke up, and there was a kitten hanging off my arm, and I was like, "Get off!" And I fell back asleep. And the next day on set, I developed kind of a lump in my elbow, and Jack Burrell said, "What do you got?" I said, "I got something growing on my elbow." He said, "It's a cyst. Just rub it; it'll go away." And it turned into 2. And then the next day I had it in my armpit, and then these red lines going up my sleeve, or my arm rather. And the Warner Brothers nurse said, "Get to this doctor right away, a few blocks away. You got blood poisoning going to your heart."
Was that you from that movie?
Yeah, I'm in the background next to Donna here, and there's Spaz with the mohawk.
Yeah.
Charles Knapp and J.D. Johnson and John being held down, and Donna looking beautiful. Let's see if I can get other shots up here. That's after we've landed and looking at the damage that the gremlin did.
Yeah, that was a crazy scene. I remember that. I remember that part of the movie pretty well.
So I had big hair back then.
That's crazy.
I'm growing it back.
Yeah, I was surprised to see you had a Grateful Dead shirt on. I was surprised to see your appearance. It's funny, when I saw this. I've never met you before, but you were for listeners and viewers, you were in one of the biggest movies, a couple movies of all time too. You were in Back to the Future 1 and 2 also. Or 2 and 3. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's I have the blood poison, the cat scratch fever on Twilight Zone there.
Right there.
Yeah, and so my friend Larry Cedar plays the monster in that. Okay. You might know him from Deadwood. He was the heroin addict, wonderful character on that. So he was inside this suit that unfortunately would disintegrate every day because they didn't make it water resistant. So the paint was coming off. They had to repaint that suit every night. And that's George Miller, the director, working with John on that scene. That's one of my favorite shots.
That's great. Is that your picture? You took that?
No, that one I found on the internet.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I was just wondering.
But
that's cool though.
The beautiful thing about working with John Lithgow is, he's such a sweet guy. He's, he's bigger than life, and yet at the same time, he's very mild with his sweetness. And the one day I was going to have lunch with him, he got called back we were on our way to the commissary, and he got called back to the set to do a special effect. Now, if you ever see the film and you know the scene, the shot where he opens the shade of the window and the monster's right there, there's a quick shot of his eyes popping out of his head.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was the shot that took place when I was supposed to be having lunch with John.
Uh-huh.
Anyway. So yeah, I'm sorry I derailed your question. You started to ask.
Oh, I was bringing up also you're in Back to the Future like 2 and 3. Like, those are some of my favorite movies. Like, honestly, that was crazy. Like, those are like legendary movies, man.
Yeah, it seems to be rediscovered by each new generation, which pleases me because, I really was kind of obscure, uh, living in obscurity after those films came out because they didn't want, obviously, Crispin to know who I was or how much I worked on the film. They used his likeness in my makeup and then spliced in a couple of close-ups of him with my work. And then,
were you in the first one also in clips, or were you just in the second and third?
Yeah, no. When the first one was being made, I was doing a Western with Clint Eastwood called Pale Rider.
Oh, because it credits you when you Google your name. It credits you for the first one. I didn't think you were. I didn't think you were. Yeah, it's just probably a mistake in Google, probably. But yeah, no, I knew you were in the second and third because I knew that story. From my perspective, clearly you know it better than me. But like from my perspective, so he just like went on TV being all crazy on like Letterman stuff and demanded all this money, like got all crazy from like the success, I guess. And then they just they're like, okay, Jeff, you want a job? Like basically.
Yeah, no, I was a little different than that, but
I feel, I imagine.
Crispin kind of helped. I can't blame Crispin for trying to hold out. He was holding out for good money. His star was rising, with his performance in River's Edge and the Doors movie, other stuff he'd done in the mid to late '80s. His star was rising, and he also did a fantastic performance as George in the first film. And I knew him. Because I'd worked with him on a film at the American Film Institute the year before he got the first film. So I was kind of impressed when I saw him and I know that guy. I called him up to congratulate him. So, in '88, when I got the call, it was from an agent who handled mostly lookalikes. I'd been playing Stan Laurel of Laurel and Hardy and Charlie Chaplin and Groucho Marx at Universal Tours in Hollywood. And the agent said, "You know who Crispin Glover is?" I mean, yeah. "Are you the same height? Are you the same weight?" And I go, "No, he's taller and heavier than me, but what's up? You need for the Back to the Future sequel?" And he said, "I'm not at liberty to say." I said, "Get me in there." I need to work. My wife at the time was having our second child, and I needed to get medical coverage. I needed the work. And I met with the assistant directors, and then I got to go to casting and audition, and then I had fittings for prosthetic makeups and body casts for special effects, and then screen test for Bob Z for Robert Zemeckis and Dean Cundy. At which point Bob Z said, "Dean, what do you think?" And Dean said, "I think we have Crispin without the trouble." And I was like, "Huh?" Because I was told I was just up for being a photo double or a stand-in or both. And it was my makeup guy who said, "Crispin's out. You're going to be George." I was like, "What?" And I couldn't fathom how they were going to do that because he was so great in the first film and so on and so forth. But apparently it had drug out for weeks, this back and forth where Crispin kind of put his foot down saying he wanted, I think, $1 million and script approval or something. And I think they probably offered him 100,000 like they offered Tom and Leah or something. I really am not privy to all the negotiating, but through the years you hear stories from both sides, and since I'm kind of on both sides, so Crispin waited till part 3 came out and called me up and said, "What they did is wrong." And I was like, "I think so." Because they used his likeness in the makeup without his permission, and then also put in shots of him to make it seem like he was still in the film, mixed with my work, without him being able to negotiate the reusage of that footage. So it was really kind of icky. And in speaking with him and sharing photos that I had of my work and such, he ended up pretty much winning his case outside of court before it even went to court. They gave him $750,000. And then, since I, thought I was being a good friend and helping him in justice being served, just trying to call him and say, "Let's do some events together, the two Georges together," or, "Let's write a book about it," or whatever. He just won't even talk to me. And it's unfortunate too, because on the other hand, he and Bob Gale have this rivalry, and it's been going on like ridiculously long for 30 years now. Accusations and anger, and it's like, come on, you guys, get over it. Get over your egos and pain and stuff, and move forward and heal. Do something for Michael's charity. I keep saying that, and I hope they'll come around. Because for the fans, that's what this conversation started about with your question. I was pretty much obscure, and after it came out that I had helped Crispin, I found out that I was blacklisted over at the studio. Which, if you find that out from an actor's point of view, that's like having your rug pulled out from under you, and it kind of put me in a tailspin and some breakdown stuff. Really bad scene for a couple years, but then I rallied and got my butt out of LA, where the traffic was killing me, and work in independent film and on stage and wherever I can really now. That's why I'm doing the Mark Twain project. So it was in 2008, I think I did my first Back to the Future cast reunion, where the actors from the trilogy were brought together at a fan con in Hollywood, and then Michael J. Fox showed up unannounced, which was really cool. And it was the first time really seeing Leah and Chris and Tom since when we shot. Actually, Tom didn't come, but he's doing conventions now. And Mike never did conventions until in 2014. I wrote him because the owner of a Comic-Con in London said, I want to do a big reunion for the 25th. And how do I get Mike? And I said, just, whatever you're paying him for his appearance fee, match it and give it to his charity. And it worked, and he's been doing those conventions ever since, though. Yet a couple years ago, or more recently, he had back surgery. I don't think he's doing much since that.
Crazy. So yeah, no, that's so you were like a stunt double, you said, prior, like within like you did like stunt doubling prior to this, you said?
No, I thought I was being the photo double for Crispin, for George.
Oh, okay, so you're just preparing for that. You didn't do that prior. Okay, I was just wondering.
No,
that's interesting, man. Like
for a living, I've been an actor now. Well, 50 years almost.
It's crazy. Yeah. So like No, that's weird. Like that whole moment of like pop culture. That's like a huge movie, and like I like the second one and the third one honestly better. Those are like the second one's probably my favorite, honestly.
This is me with the director Robert Zemeckis and the old George makeup.
That's crazy. Did you know this was gonna blow up when you was Back to the Future was probably already blown up by the time you did this one? It was like did you know this was gonna be a huge film basically? Like you pretty much knew.
Well, sure. The first film was the highest grossing film of 1984.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was born in '86, so I didn't know the backstory of that. That's crazy, man. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, you have more. And show me more of those pictures. Sorry, I was just talking. I was like, I want to see that. That was cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Give me a sec here. So it was kind of a no-brainer. They were going to make a lot of money. They were going to make a lot of money, and they were throwing. In fact, I remember in the trade papers, like the Hollywood Reporter and the Variety, they were calling it "Back to the Bank" because they threw enough money at all the principals to bring them back to reprise their roles. And so I think what I'll do is I'll just show some pictures and kind of, because it's all sorts of different things are open here. And so, Harry Waters Jr., who played Marvin Berry, and
that's cool.
On Full of Love, who plays Mayor Goldie Wilson, and
I remember that.
Actually three versions of Goldie Wilson. We do, these fan cons every once in a while, and the fans from around the world love it. And we do work with DeLorean time machines. There's with Claudia Wells, who played Jennifer Parker in the first film.
Oh, okay.
And me looking like David Crosby there. So people who know the old George 2015 McFly household, my entrance, I say, "How's Granddad's little pumpkin?" And that's based on what Michael, as my granddaughter Marlene, is wearing, because my head when coming in that front door,
that's hilarious. Yeah.
was butt level with her hot pants that made her butt look like a pumpkin.
That's
so.
hilarious.
How's Granddad's little pumpkin? I improvised.
So were you actually had to hang upside down for that? Like you were that, like how long were you upside down? Like, that's like a crazy scene to shoot, probably.
I was upside down every day while we were shooting those scenes for, I think it was probably 6 or 7 days over a 2-week period. And some of those days, because we only had Michael either at night or on the weekends when he wasn't shooting the last season of Family Ties, the days would be really, really long. I remember one week I had a 19-hour, I had a 21-hour, and I had a 26-hour long day. And those were hanging upside down. This was the first reunion we did. And, Mark McClure down here holding his puppy. Mark played Dave McFly. And,
the brother?
Yeah. He was also in the Superman movies. He was Jimmy Olsen.
Okay.
Frances Lee McCain, who played Stella Baines, Lorraine's mom, Leah, of course, playing Lorraine Baines. Me behind her, Michael, Chris, Claudia, and James Tolkien, the wonderful James Tolkien, who played Principal Strickland and Sheriff Strickland.
Wow, okay. That's crazy. I hadn't seen that kind of... That's crazy.
And then, the fans make art and stuff and send it to me, or I buy it if they don't want to, if it's for sale. So this is a pop art piece of me as, futuristic George. It's always fun. I even have an action figure that a fan made of me. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. So like I mentioned, that we had this nice reunion in 2015 at London Film and Comic Con, where there were 11 of us, I think, or 13 of us. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of us there, which was really cool. And it was the first show that Michael did for the fans, and he loved it. The fans loved him. What's not to love? He's a great guy. And then we do these DeLorean conventions. This one was in Dayton, Ohio, where was the first time we saw this high school had put together, this musical drama teacher had put together a version of Back to the Future that was a musical. And they performed it for us. And I think that's where Bob Gale went, "Oh my God, this is a natural," because we all cried. It was really fantastic.
That's crazy.
And then backstage, we all signed a guitar that went off to auction for Michael's charity. And it was really cool to have, the adoration of thousands of fans hanging on your every word at the panels. So I'm going to try to open a couple shots here so you can see that makeup. Because most people go, "What do you mean you played young George?" Whoops. Can you see it?
Oh, in that callback scene. Yeah. I remember that. Like, that's
so
crazy.
You can see the face forward, it didn't look so much like anything, like, it kind of funky, creepy looking. But on the profile, it looked pretty dead on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I got to, knock Biff out and kiss Lorraine at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance redux.
That's crazy. Yeah, that recap episode when they went back. Yeah, I remember that. That's crazy. Or the recap part of it. That's crazy, man. That's a huge film, man. Like, does that get you work for no reason, or does that hold you back? You think like because you're typecast? Is it typecasting more or less? Like, is the question?
It's not really. It's a mixed bag. I don't necessarily get a lot of offers of lead roles from it because I've grown into being more of a character actor. But I kind of prefer sometimes these independent films that I'm offered more meaty roles. I did a film not too long ago where, excuse me, I play a depressed widower with a metal plate in his head who's got epilepsy, and he becomes the avenging angel of this adolescent girl who's being abused in the foster care system. And it's a very heavy film out there on Amazon called Savior of None. It's really nice to have parts that have some meat in them. I first came to Hollywood sort of as a hot item, screen testing for the lead in a film called War Games. And then I thought I was going up to my screen test at Warner Brothers for Lady Hawk when Matthew Broderick came down on his price. So I, was going in on leads, and then slowly became more character roles, like in Pale Rider, where I played, the kind of half-wit son of a tin pan, gold miner. And then in more recent years, I played Mark Twain in that PBS movie about his trip to Jerusalem and Europe in 1867. And I'm got the mustache back now because I'm doing a pilot for a show called Mark Twain's American History.
That's cool. Mark Twain's from Missouri. I'm from Missouri. He's from Hannibal, I think. Like Hannibal. I've been to his childhood home actually. I saw it's I did all that tourist stuff about him because he's from here. Like half the things in Missouri are named after him. I'd love
to get there to his birth home as Twain. See if I could come out and tell the Jumpin' Frog story or do an appearance there. Researching him, I probably have 40 books on Twain in my library that I'm reading, and 2 sets of his biography. One's his autobiography. That's each volume is 700 plus pages long. So I've learned a lot about him. And, when he was growing up in Hannibal, he almost died a few times as a kid. He kept getting these mystery diseases and high fevers that wouldn't break. And his mom would even bring in the pastor to give him last rites. She thought she was going to lose her boy, but he was ornery and he'd pull through. And so he was a tough customer, and he based a lot of his characters, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, on kids that he knew growing up. And he really had a love of his childhood and drew on it a lot. And then, of course, his young years as a Mississippi boat captain on Life in the Mississippi, and a lot of his early stuff out west helped make his career, because he was a reporter, or he was more of a typesetter working for his brother and others there in Missouri. And then when he came out west, after a couple of years working for his brother and not getting paid in the Nevada territory, he started working as a reporter after not striking any gold or silver. And that reporter work is what got him into deep trouble in San Francisco. He was reporting on the abuse of the Chinese by the citizens and the way the police were looking the other way when these poor Chinese were getting beat up. And he was reporting in the paper, in the San Francisco Daily Call, about that, pissing off the police chief. And then a buddy of his got into a barroom brawl, and Mark posted the bail for this guy. And it looked like the bouncer that his buddy cracked a bottle or a beer pitcher on his head was going to die. And Sam Clemens didn't have the money to post the bail. So knowing the chief of police was after him and that the court was going to hold him responsible for this bail he couldn't post or cover, he hightailed it up to the gold country, and that's where he was holed up in Jackass Hill near Angels Camp in Calaveras County, that he heard the Jumpin' Frog story that he later, a year or so later, put in print in New York. It got picked up and then kind of went worldwide and put his nom de plume, Mark Twain, on the map.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, he's prolific, man. He's definitely a good part of like pop culture back in the day. I think Val Kilmer played him in a bunch of one-man plays and stuff too.
Yeah, Twain was like the first to do a lot of stuff as like an American voice.
Yeah, that's true.
trip to Europe and the Holy Land, he was like the first kind of American take on being a tourist. It was always European voice or other countries saying, this, you have to go here, you must do this, and taking that. And Twain was like, I almost got my throat cut by a barber in Paris, all these different things. I've looked at the Jesus tomb there, and it seemed pretty opulent there, and in reverence for my mom, I got on my knees and shed some tears, and there was my cousin Adam at the Holy Sepulchre, this nun who put all these tombs together. She had David, Adam, and Jesus all in the same place. How she located them and got their tombs, it's pretty interesting. But so he had this comedic take and very original American voice that hadn't been heard before. And so he became really America's first famous humorist. I mean, there was a guy named Artemus Ward who was an American humorist who unfortunately died young, that Twain loved. He got to see Artemus Ward do his lecture and just loved his presentation, and Twain started copying Artemus Ward's delivery, and Artemus died, and Twain sort of took it from there with his lectures.
It's crazy. That makes sense. Yeah, we all get it from somewhere. It's like Bob Dylan with that one folk. Like he had a folk guy I did the same thing with. I forgot his name right off, but
Ramblin' Jack Elliott.
Well, that's one of them. It was like that guy with he had This Machine Kills Fascism thing on his guitar. I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah.
Woody Guthrie. Woody Guthrie.
Yeah,
they're all. He was influenced by a bunch of guys, but Woody Guthrie's the big one I was thinking of.
No, I know Ramblin' Jack, and he swears that Bob stole his act, and I'm like, okay, then I'll tell you a story.
That's interesting to hear, but that's funny. Like, so what kind of I guess what's the craziest aspect of this like kind of level of success in like the 80s and stuff? Like, 'cause this is like one of the biggest movies probably of all time, and I imagine then it was big too. Like, what was that? What was that aspect of like what was that for you? What was that like for you? I mean,
it was thrilling. It was I'd have to pinch myself. Here I am working on probably one of the best cast and crew productions extant at the time. I remember Dick Tracy was shooting next door, and I'd see William Forsythe as Flat Top and Dustin Hoffman as Prune Face, and or was it Al Pacino? But anyway, and their makeups were really amazing, and they'd look at me and going, "What are you supposed to be?" But that film kind of didn't do what Back to the Future had done. And then the sequels continuing that, that trilogy's now earned more than $1 billion worldwide.
Oh, wow.
And not that I get much of that, but I get the adulation of the fans worldwide, and I get to sometimes go to fan cons. Like one of the shots you saw there was my first back to being in person fan cons there in Pensacola, Pensacon. Where we had a little reunion, and it was nerve-wracking because the mask mandate in Florida had just been released. So half the people at the show didn't wear masks, and then no one on the streets were wearing masks. And my honey, my beloved, is at risk because she had brain cancer, and I had her with me, and I'm like, oh my God! Well, if we're going to get it together here. It's even though we're fully vaccinated, you can still carry it or even get it, as we've learned. So it's crazy getting back to in-person stuff, and I'm really worried about. I love doing in-person, in-your-face environmental theater. I was in a hit show in San Francisco called the Speakeasy, where you're in tight scenes that are choreographed with the audience right in your face. Or I worked, like I mentioned, theme parks. And do commedia dell'arte and do buffoonery in people's faces, or my various characters was on the Polar Express for 11 years, playing the hobo going train to train with all these kids, and that kind of work I think is going to be a thing of the past until this COVID thing is fully gone away or we figured out how to handle it, and I still think we're not even close on getting rid of it. What are you going to do?
No, California takes that way more seriously than the rest of the world. You wouldn't even notice anything's different in Missouri. Like nobody cares about it. Like,
Well,
just, like,
it hit me hard right when it came to the United States. I lost a cousin every month from February, March, and April of 2020. I had a cousin die from the COVID. And Alan Davio, the cinematographer I mentioned on Twilight Zone, he died of COVID.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't even know a single person. That's why, I mean, it hasn't even affected me other than, like, that's crazy for you. I mean, I'm sorry for that, but yeah, it hasn't even, only the protocols have affected me. I really, like in certain places like the cities or something, but yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's just like not really, I don't know. It's just weird.
I just encourage people to be compassionate and think about people that you don't know that their story. If they're at risk, they could get it and die.
I just feel like everybody's just pretending like they know what's going on. Nobody really knows. We're all like in this shit. Like we're in this weird situation. Like we want to figure out. And clearly, empathy for God bless your family and friends and stuff. Like, I mean, nothing on that. It's just like we have no idea what's going on. Like just pretending like we do is just like that's like my thing. It's like I have no idea. Okay, like we could fucking all die tomorrow. Who knows? We could live forever. Who knows? I have no idea. I have no fucking clue.
Kind of early on because
This episode is brought to you by DIY Gift Kits. Go to DIYGiftKits.com, a link in the description, and get yourself a hot sauce making kit right now. This episode is brought to you by Cream City Vapes. Go to CreamCityVapes.com, a link in the description. Get butane and torches, carb caps and pearls, dab dumpster, dab tools, mood mats, temp readers, free shipping over $50, and they plant one tree per product sold.
An inquisitive guy, I'm always looking at the equipment, the camera and the special effects team and other things on sets that I work on. And then when the pandemic started, I joined immediately a Facebook page that were people who have it or have had it, and then joined another one of the long haulers, of people with the effects. And I remember the first page went from just under 20,000 to 50,000 people making the comments of what they're going through, what they went through, who they've lost, lots of death. And then the long haulers now are all dealing with these really shitty side effects that are totally screwing them up with so many different things, with heart problems and brain clouds and rashes and all sorts of shit.
That seemed like it hit California and New York pretty bad. It seems like, I mean, like certain parts. I mean, I hear stories from people in New York City and LA. It seems like more relevant. Like I said, Missouri, it's like you couldn't even tell anything happened. If you didn't have TV or a cell phone in Missouri, you would have never known anything happened.
Probably not.
You'd had no fun. It was weird. I think it's just densely populated. You know what I mean? So it's
I spent some time working the Six Flags out in Eureka, outside of St. Louis.
You've been to Six Flags Eureka? That's hilarious. Yeah, I know that.
I spent a summer there playing Charlie Chaplin and Stan Laurel.
That's awesome.
And, I know what it's like there in Missouri with your wonderful thunderstorms and tornadoes and
they freak you out. The tornado sirens freak you out. 'Cause you're not from there. You don't hear them all the time. We hear them like every Tuesday. There's a tornado siren. Like I can imagine that being crazy. Like as being from California.
Well, my break room was right under the Batman ride, and the
That's funny.
lightning came and hit the ride, and the tornado was just a mile away. I was like, I'm getting out of this trailer. I'm going into a real building with bricks. And then the culture, the people, you'd ask someone something kind of simple like, can you give me directions to something that's just around the corner? Or, I'm kind of new around here. What do you recommend? And the time and again, I get the response, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's Eureka, bro. Yeah, Eureka's like full of morons, man. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to say that, but a lot of them, all the people there. No, you're in the sticks, but in a bad way. I like the more country area or the city. I lived in St. Louis for about 5 years, the city itself, and then I love the country part of it too, man. Like, I don't like that in between much. I don't like that in between area as much.
Well, I loved it out in the country. I got to do some camping, and just had wonderful times out in the country and
out here in Missouri, like.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Then there was a free concert once. Little Feat came and played, and I got somehow backstage and started partying with the members of Little Feat. That was really fun.
That's an all-star band, right? With like the guy from the Chili Peppers and Sammy Hagar and some other guys.
No, this is a band that from the early '70s that was still gigging when I was out there in the '90s.
I recognize them. I just can't remember who they are real fast.
Little Feat got a lot of great songs.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. I didn't see him real fast. I was picturing that. That's cool, man. That you've seen Missouri quite a bit. I love it here, to be honest, man. Yeah. So you how long were you in Eureka then? I guess.
Just one summer.
Oh, you spent a summer. Okay, that's a lot of time, really. That's cool though, man. Yeah, no, right now. I'm probably about, I don't know, like an hour from there. But like I'm in these St. Louis, St. Louis City, and then I'm in the suburbs of, like, not St. Louis County, but like in the suburbs there right now. It's like it's a cool area.
You found some shoreline. It looks like right there in a little bit of beach property there.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm at a digital beach. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah,
It's. I love how glitchy it is, man. I love it. No, dude, that's interesting. You've been here. That's some relativity. That's cool. Like, I can't wait till people watch this from Missouri. Like the guy from Back to the Future was in Missouri. Like, it's just funny. Like, I mean, I think people are gonna think that. It's kind of cool. That's a cool vibe.
Oh well,
man.
Leah. I think Leah's from the Midwest. I believe she's from like Minnesota, and Harry Waters Jr., who played Marvin Berry. He teaches at McAllister in Minnesota.
That's crazy. Leah Thompson's huge. She's a huge star, man. Like, she's in a lot of good movies I like, dude. Honestly.
Yeah, and she's a sweet gal. She's wonderful.
It's crazy. You just know these people. Yeah, that's crazy. Christopher Lloyd's probably one of the biggest guys in that movie, I think. He did, like, Taxi and a bunch of stuff, man. He was like, that dude was a legend before Back to the Future. You know what I mean? Like, that was crazy.
Oh, I was starstruck. I didn't have any scenes with him, but I asked my makeup guy, Mike Mills, who was the foreman on Beetlejuice. I said, Mike, is there any way you can introduce me to Chris? And he said, well, come by tomorrow night or whatever when we're doing this all-night shoot for Hill Valley Exterior 2015. And, I got out there at 3 or 4 in the morning, and then Chris eventually came into the makeup trailer where I was waiting. Mike introduced us, and I was just starstruck. I was thrilled, and I was like, I'm a huge fan. I love Addams Family and Taxi and everything, Buckaroo Banzai. And thanks. And we kind of just stared at each other for a while and stared, and I was like, gotta go.
Dude, that's crazy.
So that was 88. And then we started doing gigs where theaters like the Beverly Hills, what was it? New Beverly Cinema in Beverly Hills did the trilogy and had Chris and I as special guests there. And before, we were coming on to do our Q&A, we were holed up in the projectionist room for about 45 minutes. So that's where I finally got to break the ice and get him to talk, because he's very quiet. If he doesn't know you, he won't talk. I've learned, just to relax around him, get him relaxed, and he opens up and chats, and he's a great guy, very eccentric. I've now done a couple other films with him, one called The Chateau Moreau, which is on the Hallmark Channel, and another one called The Boat Builder, just little parts, but I've been on more films with him, which I'm always grateful for.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, he's huge, man. Like, it's got to be crazy. That was like halfway through his career being a legend. That wasn't like the beginning. So, like, was Michael J. Fox big before this? Oh yeah, he was in that TV show, wasn't he? He was in Family Ties, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then
he was big for
that whole story of they originally wanted Michael for Marty, but because Meredith Baxter Birney, who played his mom on Family Ties, she got pregnant and was going to have birth maybe anytime soon, so they didn't want to let Michael go. He was sometimes filling in with comedy, and the scriptwriters needed all the cast there, and the producers didn't even let Michael know that this production at Universal, Back to the Future, wanted him for the lead in this film.
They shot off somebody else, didn't they? Who they shoot that with? I forgot.
Yeah, another film that I went up on, Mask, which has an interesting story, because I used to manage an old Victorian building that had this biker dude and his old lady who were making crystal meth in the bathtub. She showed me pictures of her boys. One was dying of AIDS, and the other one had already died, but he had this horrible facial deformation. He looked tumors on the outside of his face and stuff. And years later, when I auditioned for Mask and it came out, I realized this was Rusty and her son Rocky. And I confirmed that when I ran into her. So I said, I almost played your son, because I auditioned for Bogdanovich way back, and he didn't tell me that it was outside tumors. He just said it was like a brain tumor or something. And so I didn't play it, I think, right. But Eric Stoltz got it, and Eric Stoltz, from the hit that Mask was pushed onto the Back to the Future production as the actor you need to use.
That's right.
And he took it really seriously. He was doing more of a serious bent than the comedy bent that they wanted with Michael. And so after 7 or 8 weeks of shooting, they let him go. and now Michael was available. So they got Michael back, and then also Claudia Wells had been replaced with Melora, the gal from The Office, Melora Hardin. Anyway, they didn't use her. They got Claudia back. They got Michael back, and the rest is kind of history. And because the whole cast and crew had worked for 8 weeks shooting, they had it down. They knew what they were doing and could polish with all that rehearsal. And Michael, who's a consummate pro, comes in with his formula for doing comedy and just nails everything. And so naturally, it was a fun movie. And I got 2 releases. It got an initial release, and then in the summer it got a re-release. And that's why it made so much money that year.
Oh, I didn't know that. That makes perfect sense. When people went to movie theaters a lot more. That makes sense. That's interesting. I didn't know.
So here's a trivia for you and your fans, any Back to the Future fans that may be there. Do you know the original way Marty got back from 55 to 85?
No, not. What was it?
He was going to drive the DeLorean time machine 88 miles an hour underneath an atom bomb as it's being dropped at a nuclear test site out in Nevada.
In the 50s?
Yeah.
Okay, instead of the lightning? That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, the head of the production of the studio, Sid Sheinberg, came and said, well, if you want to let go of Stoltz and you want Michael J. Fox, you need to cut $1 million off your budget. So they cut the whole scene. And I think came up with the lightning striking the clock tower thing.
That's crazy. Okay, that's wow. That's crazy. That would have been crazy with the atomic bomb. You have me visualizing that now. It's like it reminds me of like Evil Dead when I found out that he had like an alternative ending to that too. It's like that's crazy to think about.
Well, if you look at the marquee of the theater in Hill Valley, the Atomic Kid is playing. I think at one point.
I saw that. Yeah, after you said that made sense. I even seen that. I've seen that. That's in California. That studio. I've seen that. The courthouse and stuff as a kid. Like we went there as like a.
That was Universal.
Yeah, that's where it was. Universal Studios. Yeah, Universal Studios had that. I remember seeing that as a kid. Actually, now I think about that.
So you may have seen me on the tour. I was playing Stan Laurel and Charlie Chaplin and Groucho Marx on the tour.
That's crazy. Small world. That's crazy.
Yeah, I might be in a photo with you.
Yeah, how many times has that happened to you? That probably happens a lot.
Every once in a while, someone will send me a picture and say, "Is this you?" And I go, "Yeah."
That's hilarious, man. You teach acting now too, right?
I do.
That's interesting. How'd you get into that? Just from doing it for so long, you're like, hey, I have some lessons to teach people type thing, or what?
I do. I've got a lot of experience for almost 50 years that I've been acting, and I love seeing talent kind of find its way and help hone that craft. There's a lot. I really think that everyone is capable of acting. You just need the right guidance, and there isn't really one acting technique, cookie cutter technique that's right for everyone. So I take exercises from all the acting great, gurus and teachers, and we'll try them out to see what works for specific talent. If the old emotional recall or sense memory works for one person and not for someone else, but the fantasy charging and repetition exercise works for another person, or some people just have talent and just do it, have a very Zen approach. Everyone's kind of wired differently, and everyone has their own histories and traumas and things that come into play. And it's really fun to watch people blossom and folk that I've mentored go and take the plunge into Hollywood and make it or not make it or find another career. I've had numerous successes with my students, so I'm really happy about that.
That's awesome. Congrats on the success, man. That's cool. I think it's kind of a cool give back too. I think like having somebody in you're part of pop culture now. You're part of like American history and American cinema.
There's kind of that wow factor with my students. I also, with the pandemic, I've learned now to teach through Zoom, where I can, tape the monologue or the scene and stop the Zoom. As you know, it downloads the recording, and then I'll start the meeting up again, share the screen, we watch the scene work, and I can comment on it, and they can see their own work.
That's awesome. No wonder you're so good at Zoom. You're telling me how to use it. you're telling me some stuff before. That's cool, man. That's actually a really innovative way to kind of like teach acting, man. I like that, dude. That's
well, I also work with this group. When the pandemic started, I needed to still work. I'm an artist. Yeah. I need to flex my muscles. So I saw that this guy who was a Facebook friend had adapted Back to the Future as if Shakespeare had written it. And he said, this company is going to do this, my work, out of London. I said, is it still casting? I wrote him a messenger. And he said, I don't know, here's the casting director's email. And I wrote her, and when she learned who I was, she was like, sure, we'd love to have you a part of this. Who would you like to play? And I was like, Doc Brown?
Dude,
So,
you look like that now. That's crazy, yeah.
oh! So I basically do my Chris Lloyd Doc Brown in a Shakespeare version of Back to the Future that's free. It's on YouTube called Get Thee Back. And
I'm going to watch that now after this interview. You're going to have me watching that now. That's crazy. So that's funny. Like, so like the actor that played like George McFly is now playing the Doc. That's funny as hell. You're playing two different characters in this like kind of like story now, man. That's crazy to think about. What was it called again?
It's called Get Thee Back. The company is called The Show Must Go Online, TSMGO. And they did over the summer all of Shakespeare's plays, one a week. They did the entire canon. They did a Shakespeare version of Star Wars and of Mean Girls and Back to the Future.
I found that already on YouTube. I'm going to watch that. That's crazy to think about.
I'm also in their production of Twelfth Night.
That's crazy. That's awesome. Well, congrats on your success, man. You were in like way more movies we even brought up. I just brought up the ones I thought like that stuck out to me first off and stuff. But do you have anything you want to promote before? Wait, what's up?
A lot of people are fans of Pale Rider.
That's a big one. Yeah, I saw that.
5 weeks with Clint Eastwood on that, and it's a beautiful film, and kind of got earned the money that Silverado made, so it became the best grossing Western of the 80s, I think.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And then Clint did Unforgiven, which, was a masterpiece. So it was really great to, kind of lose the fanboy thing and intimidation of seeing Clint in his duster and hat and being the mystery man and getting to know him as a person. It was really fantastic to see how hard working he and his crew are and work with that ensemble. That ensemble was a terrific cast. Michael Moriarty and Carrie Snodgrass and Richard Dysart and Richard Keel. I would just pinch myself being in such great company.
That's how having a podcast is. Like literally, it's the same exact thing. You have to talk to like all these people. Like you're part of like cinema history, my favorite movies. I mean, just on this interview. But then like anybody I talk, it's like the same thing every time. It's like it's like the same vibe you just described. It's like you're like now you're working with these people. Like it's like weird, It's like it's a cool feeling, man. I'm proud of your success, man. It's good for everything you're doing, man. I like hearing that shit. Is there anything you want to promote like while we're here before we get out of here or whatever?
Let's see. What do I got going? I've got a show in August in Orlando called Fanboy Expo. And then I think we're going to Knoxville, Tennessee to their Fanboy Expo in October. November, New Jersey HorrorCon. So there's, some in-person stuff. And people can always, email me through jeffreyweissman.com. Send me a message or follow me on Instagram or Twitter. And if someone really needs to have an autographed picture, I can handle that, tell you how to get that. Or if you want acting lessons, I can do it by Zoom. I need the work.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Just follow me. I'm on Twitter at JEF, only one F, Weissman, WEISSMAN. On Instagram at Jeffrey, JEFFREYJ, Weissman, WEISSMAN. I'm on TikTok. I don't know what my handle on TikTok, maybe at Jeffrey Weissman. And now Clubhouse, which is pretty cool. So yeah, follow me, stay in touch, and I'll see you in the future.